One of the topics that we fans like the most is the Megazords, and it is one of the most epic moments of each episode. When we see the Megazord destroying any villain is something that gets us excited, and we want to keep watching the next episode. We know that Megazords have many combinations and sometimes they change depending on the enemy. In this video we will see the best basic Megazords, and although we will talk a little bit about the combinations, I won't judge that part. To rate the Megazords I will only base my rating on their outward appearance, since it is difficult to measure the power of each one of them. In this video I will also include the Megazords from the movies. Even though they are not canon, I think we have enjoyed some of those Megazords. When you finish the video, leave in the comments your 7 favorite Megazords. Remember that this list is based on personal taste, so everyone may think differently, and that's why you should make your list in the comments. Let's start with number 7, the Jungle Fury Megazord, called the Jungle Pride Megazord, which looks pretty wild. This Megazord has a very light appearance, which makes it feel like it can have more agility than any other Megazord. That light appearance goes very much in line with what it does, as it is a very fast Megazord and is one of its best abilities. Because it is made up of feline animal spirits, this is why its agility helps it defeat its enemies. It is a Megazord that does not have many weapons and cannot fight at long distance, but in melee battles it is one of the best. His design is spectacular. He is slim and looks like a wild warrior coming from the jungle. His colors match very well, and the shape of his head is one of the best I've seen. His weak point, I think, may be the lack of weapons and power to defeat certain difficult enemies. At number 6, we have Turbo's Megazord, the Turbo Megazord, which is one of the heaviest on this list. Although the information that appears on the internet is very good, the height and weight information of the Megazords is sometimes a bit inconsistent. Still, according to the information on the internet, this Megazord weighs 7,500 tons and is 55 meters tall. I really like the construction of this Megazord, and the way they combine all the Zords is spectacular. Its colors combine very well, since, by using the white color and the silver color of the metal, everything works very well. I didn't like the cockpit in the series, but the cockpit they made in the movie looks excellent. It looks like the cockpit of a ship with a lot of power. Megazord number 5 is the Megazord from the 2017 movie. The first curious detail of this Megazord is that it has no name, it is simply called a Megazord. No matter what critiques we can make of this movie, I really like this Megazord, and I am going to give you several reasons. The construction of this Megazord is impressive, even though I don't like the Zords separately because I don't understand their shapes and they look like meaningless machines. Regardless of the fact that the separate Zords are like this, the combination of the Megazord looks excellent, and it really looks like a metal warrior that can take out any enemy. The shape of its body makes it look very agile. The colors match very well, and it has several details as if it has energy inside. The head of this Megazord looks like the helmet of a space warrior with a super armor that comes to wipe out all enemies. The only negative thing I can say about this Megazord is that the Rangers were all separated and were not together in one cockpit. Number 4 on this list is the Dino Charge Megazord, and I obviously don't have to say which season this Megazord is from. We know that this Megazord has many combinations, but I am going to concentrate only on its appearance no matter what the combination is, since its essence has always been the same. This Megazord, just by seeing it you know it is very powerful and that you are going to choose it for any battle against any villain. If at some point you are given a choice between all the Megazords without knowing anything about each of them and you can only go by their physical appearance, then it is very likely that you are going to choose this Megazord. Its huge limbs make you feel that you will be able to break anything and that no enemy will be able to defeat you. His legs look like you're going to be able to leap into space, and the dinosaur on his shoulders makes him look very menacing. I think the only negative part of this Megazord has always been its bright colors, as those colors make it look like a toy. In the number 3 spot I have to mention the classic Dino Megazord, and obviously the nostalgia got the better of me here. Although this is the oldest Megazord in the Power Rangers franchise, we could also see it in the special episode for the first time created in CGI. We know that in this new creation they changed him a bit as his waist looked bigger, but in my opinion, I think he just had a little surgery to be trendy in this era. Seriously speaking, the best thing about this Megazord is his head, as those horns make him look very menacing and he looks like a combination of several wild animals. Something I really like about this Megazord is that it has always been very agile despite having pretty big legs. I think the downside to this Megazord is its size, as it is one of the smallest in the entire franchise. In the number 2 position we have the Thunder Megazord. This is the Megazord from the second season of Mighty Morphin. In this ranking I didn't think about nostalgia since I was never a big fan of that second season. Here I just thought about everything that this wonderful Megazord has. The essence of this Megazord is supposed to be samurai-like, and that's all it casts when you see a battle of this super machine. The helmet of this Megazord is one of the best there is in the entire franchise, as it projects seriousness, strength, knowledge and menace. His design and color scheme was spot on, and the thing I like most is that he has his sword nearby. The only thing I can say bad about this Megazord is that the lion's head is in the wrong place. This is the most controversial place, as everyone has their favorite Megazord and mine is the Dino Fury Megazord. This Megazord truly looks like a warrior and does not look like a machine. I know that the essence of Megazords is that they are machines that look like a warrior, but I like it when a Megazord looks like a real warrior and you forget that it is a machine. This Megazord is very agile because of the shape of its structure, and because it is so thin this allows it to have a better movement in the fight. Its design is excellent, and its colors were very well proportioned since it does not look like a mixture of colors without sense. The combinations that can make this Megazord is impressive, but what I like the most is that it looks excellent in any of its combinations. This is something that always affects Megazords. Sometimes they look good in their basic form, but when they make some combination, it is a mess of colors and meaningless designs. This is something that does not happen with this Megazord, since in all its combinations it keeps looking better and better. If you liked any of these Megazords, like this video and subscribe for a new Power Rangers Megazord. Power Rangers has been a franchise that has passed from hand to hand over the years, and little by little this has affected the way the series is aired. When the franchise started, they didn't think it would last so long and be so successful. This is why the number of episodes is very different between the old seasons and the recent seasons. Also, the way they tell a story is different, and this is why the number of episodes has changed over time. The first season we had was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and the latest season at the time of publishing this video is Dino Fury. Just so you can imagine the difference in episode quantities between these two seasons, We could say that with that first season of Mighty Morphin they could have created 3 seasons of Dino Fury. In this video we are going to start with the seasons that had less episodes until the seasons that had more episodes. Remember that there are some series that had 2 seasons, but did not change the name of the series. Even so, we are going to count each season separately, and we are not going to add the number of episodes of those 2 seasons just because they have the same name. An example of this is Dino Fury. This series had 2 seasons and they never changed the name. Each season had 22 episodes, so each season counts separately, and we are not going to add the 2 seasons together, so we can say that Dino Fury has 44 episodes. In this video it would be Dino Fury Season 1 which has 22 episodes and Dino Fury Season 2 which has 22 episodes, and they would be tied for the same place on the list. That being said, let's start the list with the seasons that have the fewest episodes. The series with the least number of episodes so far is Alien Rangers, which is considered to be Season 3.5 of Mighty Morphin, and that is why they only made 10 episodes. This is basically the same thing that is possibly going to happen with Cosmic Fury, as this series is also going to have only 10 episodes. The next season is Super Megaforce, which officially has 20 episodes, but the official Power Rangers YouTube channel added to the playlist of this season one additional episode, which is the Legendary Battle extended version. The final episode of this series is supposed to be the Legendary Battle, and it has a length of 23 minutes, but episode number 21 is the extended version of that same episode, and it has a length of 54 minutes. If we count that extended version as an official episode, then the series has 21 episodes. Then, we move on to the series that has 22 episodes, and now this is the amount that almost all the new seasons will probably continue to have. It is likely that after Cosmic Fury, the next seasons are going to continue to have 22 episodes as a standard amount. The seasons that have this amount are Super Samurai, Megaforce, and the seasons from Dino Charge to Dino Fury Season 2. The last series, which are Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, have 2 seasons without changing their name. Each season has 22 episodes, so as I said at the beginning, each season counts separately. The next on this list could have been part of the previous group as it has 22 episodes, but we must add one more episode to it. This series had a supposed movie called Clash of the Red Rangers, but it is only 52 minutes long. A feature film production is when it has a running time of 60 minutes or more, so this supposed movie should be classified as a special episode. It is for this very reason that Once and Always classified it as a special episode, even though it appears on Netflix as a movie. Now the number of episodes changes drastically as we move on to other series that have 32 episodes. These series start from Mystic Force to RPM, and although it may not seem like a vast difference, it really is. The previous series on this list had 23 episodes, so that's a 9-episode difference, and if you think about it carefully, Alien Rangers only had 10 episodes. Basically, there is one season of Alien Rangers difference between the number of episodes in this spot on the list and the previous spot. In the next place we have the 3rd season of Mighty Morphin, which was the shortest season of this series. This season had 33 episodes, but despite this it has become one of the most beloved seasons of the entire franchise. Then we have several seasons that had 38 episodes which start from Ninja Storm to SPD. This number of episodes seems a bit odd to me, as they could have completed all 40 episodes, and basically this is what they did with the seasons in the next spot. The seasons from Lightspeed Rescue to Wild Force had 40 episodes, and here we can already see the big difference between the old seasons and the new seasons. These 40-episode seasons could have been split into 2 seasons of 20 episodes each, that would possibly help them with marketing, sales, promotion, and at the same time maybe give the production a little break. This is something that was not thought before, and perhaps with the arrival of digital platforms they began to change everything. In the next place we have In Space, which was a season that had 43 episodes and has been one of the most beloved series in history. With this number of episodes, I guess the production had to live in space for a long time. This is also demonstrated with the next season on this list, which has 45 episodes, and it is Lost Galaxy. Another season that also had that same number of episodes was Turbo, and between these two series there are more episodes than the 4 seasons of Beast Morphers and Dino Fury. Before the Turbo series there was the Zeo series, and this season had 50 episodes. Basically 5 additional episodes, which is equivalent to half the season of Alien Rangers. In the next place we have Mighty Morphin Season 2, which had 52 episodes and basically started with the reign of Lord Zed. The last season left to mention is the first season of the entire franchise, Season 1 of Mighty Morphin, which had 60 episodes. I have watched this season several times, and even though I love Power Rangers, still, this season goes on forever. Tell me in the comments which is your favorite season, like this video and subscribe for new seasons of Power Rangers. We know that behind each series there is a very large work team, and among all those people there are designers in charge of making the costumes for each team. We also know that sometimes the decisions are not made by the designer, but by the high-ranking bosses, and that's why sometimes it's not the costume designer's fault that things go wrong. Still, we must make a list mentioning the ugliest costumes that have appeared in the entire history of the franchise. Sometimes the entire team has the same costume, but there are some Rangers who have a different costume than the rest of the team. At other times, the costume only looks ugly in certain specific colors, or perhaps because of some modification they made to it. It is worth mentioning that in this video we will only talk about the costumes and everything the Ranger has on from the neck down. In this video, we will not talk about the helmets because, as we have mentioned in other videos, the helmet and the suit can be judged separately. I want to start with the Beast Morphers team, a team that almost didn't make this list, but unfortunately, I had to add them. The reason they almost didn't make the list is because I can give them credit for trying something totally different, but we have to be honest, as they failed in the attempt. I know that maybe this decision can be very controversial since there are many who like the costumes of this team, but to me they just seem as if Spider-Man didn't have an official costume and put on the first coat he found along with his mom's belt. In this review, I only want to talk about the 3 main colors, as the Gold Ranger and Silver Ranger have slightly different and better costumes than the other Rangers. Another very horrible thing about these suits is what they wear on their shoulders. When you look at them from the front, they look like they have a backpack, and that makes them look like they are going to school. I think the worst thing of all is the texture of the fabric, as that is what makes them look like ordinary clothes. The other team with very ugly costumes are in space, and even though it is an iconic series, unfortunately their costumes were terrible. The design of those squares on the chest is something they tried to create to give it a future or space style, but they just look like part of an old video game. I know there are awesome designs that other modern artists have created with these suits, as they have managed to make those squares on the chest something more special, but unfortunately, we have to talk about the original suit. I know that because Power Rangers is linked to Sentai, there are many things about the costumes that should make them a bit generic, but sometimes they overdo it too much. The center of the belt has a design similar to letter mailing envelopes, and the supposed gold color doesn't match anything on the costume. I'm also not going to understand why they have that yellow part near the neck, as that doesn't help the costume design either, and we can tell this by looking at the Yellow Ranger costume. After In Space came Lost Galaxy, and maybe we thought the costumes were going to improve, but apparently, they kept the same people from the previous season. Apparently, these costume designers from the previous season hated Power Rangers and ended up making one of the ugliest costumes in the entire history of the franchise. The white part of the chest ends before it reaches the waist, and this just looks like they ran out of white fabric, and everyone agreed to leave the white fabric up to there. Then, we have this black line that goes from top to bottom, forming some triangles on the white parts. Honestly, whoever did this design was really bored that day and just started drawing some lines with his eyes closed. When the Lost Galaxy season finally ended, we were hoping that now the costumes were going to improve, and then came Lightspeed Rescue. Here the only good thing the costume designer did was to add the gold parts, the rest is a disaster. The design the Rangers have on the chest is the same design the circus tents have. The Red Ranger looks like the holster the popcorn comes in. I can understand that maybe the subject matter is a little difficult to bring to the design and transform it into something real, but to create this you need a group of collaborators, and it's hard to think that all these people agreed to send this mess. Lightspeed Rescue is over, and now there's no way they didn't fire the previous designer, and next season we're going to have some amazing costumes. Apparently, they hired the same team with bad taste and created these costumes for Time Force. These are super simple costumes, but simple doesn't always have to be bad. Unfortunately, on this one occasion, simple worked against them as the costumes looked terrible. The chest design is one of the worst designs I've seen, as it's just arrows pointing down. On top of that they add some silver-colored parts on the boots and forearms. This suit is definitely unsalvageable, and although the idea of making the helmet visor the same color as the suit was very innovative, unfortunately, the suit ruined everything. After that season ended, we had several seasons with excellent costumes, because apparently, they fired the team that was in charge of designing the costumes, but when we got to the Operation Overdrive season they hired them again. This time the designers wanted to ruin everything and mark all their hatred towards the franchise. Being quite honest, the costumes are not super ugly, but the logo for this season is the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. For those who don't know, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I've seen a lot of horrible logos in my professional life, but this season's logo was one of the worst I've ever seen. The design that the suits have was based only on dividing the color with a white part in the center of the body and under the arms. The rest is only the logo and the parts that complement the boots, gloves and shoulders, which are made of a silver color. The decision to put these parts in silver was a good one, but the lines made them look like old metal parts you find in a dumpster. For me, the worst thing about this season is not the regular Team Rangers. For me, the worst thing is the 6th Ranger, who has a few different things on his costume and raised the bar for how terrible a costume designer can be. Let's start with the color of the Ranger. which is supposed to be silver, and his suit looks like what people wear to work out and want to sweat a lot. He also looks like a chicken wrapped in aluminum foil about to go in the oven. In addition to this, they changed the white color that all the Rangers have and put it in black color, but with an orange line. To continue with the terrible decisions, they changed the design of the shoulders and make all that bigger and uglier. Finally, all those silver parts on the other Rangers can't be the same color as the Silver Ranger because they won't show, so they changed them to blue. So, this Ranger ends up with a color scheme of silver, blue, orange, black, white and red. The award for the ugliest costume in Power Rangers history goes to the Silver Ranger from Operation Overdrive. Leave in the comments which are the ugliest costumes for you. If you think some of these costumes are ugly, like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers costumes. We were recently talking about a project they are trying to make happen, and that is an adult-focused Power Ranger series. This would be a more serious series with some different themes to make it more interesting for adults, so the series would have a darker style. As we all know, Power Rangers is focused for the whole family, but in reality it is more focused for young children between the ages of 4 to 6 years old. This has caused the Sentai to create weapons and Megazords that basically look like toys. When Power Rangers started in 1993, things were done differently. Weapons and Megazords were seen as they should be, and then toys were created based on that. Now, the weapons and Megazords are already seen as toys, and so when they bring them to the market, then there is not much difference between what you have in your hands and what you see on TV. All this means is that if they are going to create a series for adults, then all this must change, since instead of selling toys, what they can sell are collectible figures, and obviously for the series to appeal to an adult audience, then the weapons and Megazords must look impressive and not like toys. By now, we all know that the Power Rangers costumes have been basically the same for 30 years, and I don't mean the design, I'm referring to the material used to make those suits, a fabric glued to the body so the actor can have more movement and freedom when fighting. This type of material can impress young people, but it is very difficult to impress adults with this type of material, because if we compare it with series and movies for adults, then it is evident that the Rangers look not very credible. The only thing we can highlight from all the Rangers are the helmets, as those still appear to be made of excellent material with unique designs. The good news is that today there are good designers who can create spectacular costumes to make Rangers look like mighty heroes. We can start by talking about one of my favorite designers who has created many images of Power Rangers that look amazing. These suits have a mix of materials that make them look very tough and make the Ranger look very powerful without losing the essence of what a Power Ranger is. Remember that one of the biggest problems they had in the 2017 movie is that they tried to create new suits, but unfortunately, these suits lost the essence of what the franchise is, since instead of looking like Power Rangers, they actually looked like Iron Man suits with different colors. If we continue to see the creations of this great artist, we can see that he has different designs for the mighty Morphin, since it is obviously the best-known series. Even though he did a redesign of the helmets, they still look like the original helmets, but an improved version. We can also see a design of the Gold Zeo Ranger, and here we can see major changes in the suit and helmet. Another thing that has been redesigned is the weapon of this Ranger, an iconic weapon in the franchise, and with this new design we can see that it still looks excellent and without losing the essence of what this weapon is. One of my favorite designs is the Alien Ranger suit, which looks awesome, and you can quickly identify that they are the Alien Rangers since they haven't lost their essence either. The same we can notice with the Ninja suit design, which had a very large suit in the series, and here we can see several different designs, although I must say that my favorite is the smaller suit as it looks more aesthetic and real. One of the most impressive suits in this series of redesigns is the Silver Ranger suit from In Space. This suit truly appears to have a shimmer and shine to it as any silver object would. In addition, it also has an illumination on the squares on its chest, and obviously this was only painted on the suit in the series. Leave in the comments which of these three designs is your favorite of this suit. This same designer has awesome designs of other characters such as Alpha 5, of which he has these three designs. He also has designs of Golder, one of the villains of Mighty Morphin, and although I always liked the original design of Golder, I must admit that this redesign looks amazing. If you visit this designer's page, which I will leave in the description, you will be able to see other designs he has of the Power Rangers costumes that are also amazing, but for now I want to proceed with another designer that has become very famous in social media. This other designer has created redesigns of the costumes from several different seasons, and his projects have been loved by many fans of the franchise. One of these awesome designs was Zio's costumes, which have lighting on his helmet, and his costumes are worthy of the theme of the series. If you look more closely you can see all the Egyptian patterned artwork all over the suit, and this gives an awesome detail to the design. The material of these suits are different from the designs we saw previously. This material still looks like fabric, but it looks like a tough fabric, much like the ones they use on superhero costumes in current movies. Another design that I really liked are the Time Force suits, as they have a double combat mode. The first mode is for daylight combat, and the other mode is with lighting all over the suit for combat in dark places. These suits are made of a resistant material, but at the same time they have a lot of flexibility so that the Ranger can have freedom of movement. We must also highlight the design of the Alien Ranger suits, which look very different from the design we saw previously, but still look just as amazing. These suits also seem to be made of a more flexible material, and the whole design is very similar to the original, but the texture of the design makes them look much more resistant and powerful. One of the last designs that this great artist published were the Turbo Ranger suits. We all know that the theme of this series is cars, and the suits reflect that theme very well. The material of these suits seems to be metallic, but because of the way they are constructed you can see that the Rangers can have a lot of freedom of movement and at the same time a lot of protection. All of this is a small demonstration that today there is a possibility to do a better job with the costumes and character designs in the series. We know that sometimes it is very difficult to go from design to reality, because in a design we can work with any material, but for an actor in real life it is very difficult to work with some materials. Sometimes you need a lot of CGI, and this may work in movies when they have very high budgets, but in series like Power Rangers that have a very small budget this is very difficult to achieve. Still, these designs can serve as inspiration for the production if they want to make a series focused for adults. I think these costumes would be a great attraction for the audience. In the description I will leave the social media of these great artists. If you would like them to use designs like these, Like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers designs.